Franchise Film Review Fridays.
Welcome to this week's episode of Franchise Film Review Fridays. We're going to continue on with our special tribute to horror movie franchises for Halloween. And today I have with me...
I'm Doug, Mr. Cripperly.
And today we are going to be doing a film review for...
Friday the 13th.
Kick-ass machete, huh?
Jason Voorhees.
Yeah. Quite possibly... I have a hard time deciding whether or not I prefer Michael Myers over Jason or vice versa. Freddy is always going to be my go-to film franchise. What do you think?
I prefer Jason. Nothing wrong with Freddy, but if I go to with the top 3 slashers and everything, I'm gonna go with Jason.
Yeah, I think Jason ranks in for me as number 3. I think I honestly go Freddy, Jason, Freddy, Michael Myers, Jason. I think that's kind of how it goes for me. But I mean, I love all 3, franchises. I mean, there's films here and there that I don't like. Like, I don't like a lot of the remakes. We'll get into that, as time progresses. But I guess we're just gonna go ahead and we're gonna jump right into this. We're gonna start with Friday the 13th. The first one. What's your take on this?
Well, the entire time, I mean, okay, you hear about the young boy that drowned and everything. I mean, it starts off, it's, 1980? Well, when it first starts off, it's like 1958.
Yeah, something like that.
And everyone's singing campfire songs and everything. All of a sudden, these two break off. Well, anyone that's seen horror films know that these two are probably going to go have sex. What's the number one in horror movies?
You never have sex.
You're dead. I mean, we'll go over the stereotypes as we go through them, and everything. But that's the number one stereotype. Don't have sex, kids, and don't go into a camp near a lake either.
You will die.
I mean, you see the two. They're getting ready to have sex and everything. Someone's coming up in the loft with them. Dude gets stabbed. Chicks running around screaming, "No, no!" And then it jumps to the title.
Yeah.
I mean, they got killed.
I know a lot of people that don't, that aren't really familiar with the Friday the 13th franchise. They always, like it happened in Scream, Drew Barrymore was saying that Jason Voorhees was the killer. No, it was not Jason Voorhees. It was his mother that was the killer in the original Friday the 13th. And I think they did a good job of concealing that up until the climax of the movie. Because you think it's Jason the whole time, but it turns out it's his mom.
And then, and after figuring out that it was his mother and everything, I mean, it makes sense when Steve Christie came up when the flashlight is being shined in his face when he's walking back to camp. "Oh, hi, what are you doing out here?" He recognized who it was. Yeah. No one else did. But then, of course, there's the, I guess you'd call it a slight dream sequence.
Yeah, something like that.
Where, crap. I keep forgetting the character's name and the actress' name.
It's not all that relevant. People who are watching this, they've watched this damn franchise before, so they get what you're talking about.
So, I mean, she's sitting there in the boat, and all of a sudden you see Jason come out of the water and drag her under it, and then next thing you know, she's in a hospital.
And that kind of leads right into part 2. With part 2, you find out that overall, at that point in time, Jason isn't dead. He's just been kind of like hiding out near Camp Crystal Lake.
And he witnessed
what happened to his mom.
He witnessed her killing him. Now, she survived, but she only went from one movie to the next.
Yeah.
So, beginning of the movie, she's an ice pick to her head.
Yeah.
Dead.
The doornail. which if you ask me, is always a good way to start out a horror movie. Just ice pick them in the damn head.
And then Now that throughout that entire one, it's Jason, but he doesn't have the hockey mask. He's wearing a burlap sack.
Yeah. So he doesn't get the hockey mask until part 3. My big issue with part 3, the whole 3D thing. I really don't like it when they try to do those 3D movies, because to me, especially in, back when they still had what's known as practical effects, it always made the effects look so cheesy. I did not like it. Like, I remember in that one scene where, like, Jason shoots somebody with the spear gun thing.
He's lining it up on the side.
Yeah, and you see it coming. No.
Or the part where they do center just using the yo-yo.
Yeah. And to me, I just don't like those 3D movies like that at all. And I really hate it, especially back, like I said, when they didn't have like real good CGI effects or any at all. Then when they tried to do that, because this made the effects look real cheesy. I didn't care much for that.
This is part 3. Also introduced the first ethnic people into the movies. Now, not going through experience or anything. You don't need to be a brother or a sister in a slasher film.
No.
You gonna die.
This is not, it's and anybody who watches horror films knows this. I know that and it's a long-running joke, the black guy dies first. But I don't think that's always the case in the Jason movies. The black guy doesn't always die first, but most of the time, inevitably, he's gonna.
Yeah. I mean, the stereotypes for slasher.
I think typically the slut always dies first.
Yeah. Okay, if you're in a slasher film, regardless of whether it's Jason, Michael Myers, Freddy, any of them, if you're a slut, a man slut,
don't be a man hoe.
Colored. You don't even have to be. Well, you don't even have to be black. You can be just any ethnicity other than white. A douche. A practical joker, because no one's gonna believe you when you actually do die.
Exactly. And that always bugs me. I've always just wanted to see the asshole survive the movie. Like I told you guys, I've always wanted to see the asshole survive.
And then anybody that just shows like too much skin. I mean, now in every single movie, there's always somebody stripping down, and in some of them, there's gratuitous boob shots. You know who's fixing to die. You see two people in a bed, you see boobs bouncing and everything. Okay, they're fixing to die.
They're dead. Well, and then we go into part 4.
This one,
I think what was really cool about this one is it started a very young Corey Feldman first
Yes.
off. That one was really cool. I thought that was really good. And this was actually supposed to be. This was actually supposed to be the final one in the franchise that we're gonna. It wasn't gonna be Jason Voorhees anymore. That was doing the killing, and we'll get into what their plan was when we start talking about part 5. But Tommy Jarvis, that's Feldman's character, and it was actually supposed to be the one that finally was able to kill Jason.
and he persists through 3 movies.
Yes, he does.
Which brings in the question. Jenny from part 2 is seen being taken away in an ambulance, but it's never said what happens to her. And then Chris lost her mind, but it's never said what happened to her.
Sure.
And you pick up with part 4, you got a bunch of kids come to the cabin to party and all this stuff, and you got a family that lives right next door with a little boy that likes to make monster masks.
Yeah. I thought, if you go back and you look over Corey Feldman, this is actually one of Corey Feldman's performances that a lot of people don't remember. And I honestly think that's what happens in a lot of these slasher films is, they're forgotten. A lot of them are like, okay, good slasher film, but then they're just kind of forgotten. Because, I mean, throughout the entire Friday the 13th franchise, you don't see a lot of memorable faces in it.
I mean, now, you want to go back to certain actors and everything, they may have got their start in a horror movie. I mean, look at Jensen Ackles and
Jared Padalecki.
I mean, and look at Supernatural now. I mean, both of them had think Jared more than Jensen really had kind of a big flop, but we'll get to that.
We'll get into that one also. We're jumping ahead, but we'll wrap it all up. So we move from part 4 into part 5. With part 5, you see the return of Tommy Jarvis. He's grown
10 years
up.
later.
Yeah, he's grown up and he's trying to sort of reassimilate into society. He's in this.
It's like a halfway house.
Yeah.
It's kind of a camp and everything. And in this one, the first death doesn't even happen by Jason's hands. The first death is actually a member of the halfway house being killed by another member. But certain things that go on lead to 2 different conclusions, especially the ending of the movie.
Yeah.
Because you've got a guy who, after the paramedics leave and everything, you got a guy that starts coming around just killing everybody. And
throughout the whole movie, and spoiler alert, throughout the whole movie, they assume that it's still Jason Voorhees alive, but then you find out at the end that was actually the paramedic at the beginning of the film who helped to pick up the dead guy, who happened to be his son. And this is actually what they were planning on doing with the rest of the Friday the 13th franchise, is that we're going to have different stories,
somebody else was going to take up the mask.
Yeah, but they had no intention of it being Jason Voorhees. It was just going to be some kind of random killer in a hockey mask.
Well, I mean, that also comes. Okay, yeah, we know that the paramedic was the killer.
Yeah.
But there's certain people that were killed that had nothing to do with the facility.
Well, I think it was more of just a revenge thing. He was trying to kill people connected with the facility.
Well, the two greasers, they get whacked right there because their car won't start.
Yeah.
They had nothing to do with it at all.
Yeah.
That's why I'm more leading to what happens at the end of the movie. That Tommy at some point may have lost touch with reality and thought he became Jason himself. Killed those two, because the second group of people that die is the person that is one of the people that dropped him off at this place.
Yeah.
And then at the end, he's in the hospital, and the surviving assistant from the place comes up because you heard a glass break in his room, walks in there, and he's not in there. And just before that, you'd seen him get out of bed, pull out his IV needle, and open up a drawer, and there's the hockey mask. And then right there at the end, he's standing behind her with the hockey mask and stab her, but that's it.
Yeah. Now, did you notice the difference in the masks?
The original masks
have the red mark.
The red markers. The masks in part 5 were blue.
Blue, yeah. They had blue like lines coming down through here, almost like they were right through here. And it was kind of to differentiate Jason Voorhees from the killer in this one.
And now, one of the things, in part 4, the mayor says that Voorhees was cremated.
But you go into part 6, Tommy and his friend is actually digging up a rotted corpse. Yeah. That was a good catch. That was a very good catch.
Now, something else on that. 10 years later, they open it up and the corpse is still rotting and have maggots. That corpse should either be skeleton or at least mummified by that point. It shouldn't have maggots in it anymore. Nor should there have been really any vital organs or anything to
reanimate with the lightning rod.
But
it's a movie.
It's a horror film.
It's a horror film.
The worst is supposed to happen.
Yeah, it's supposed to defy logic and stuff like that. I mean, you look at, A Nightmare on Elm Street and guys like invading people's dreams and killing them out there.
Part 7 was out there, but
Part
let's
7.
continue with 6.
Oh yeah, we'll go ahead and continue with 6. Got off track here.
Yep.
Well, I think we pretty much summed up part 6 right there.
The ending almost, kind of like with part 4, almost brought a definitive to it.
Yeah.
Because he ties the chain around his throat and down he goes.
Down he goes on the lake, yeah.
The only okay. Now throughout every single Jason franchise, there's always a survivor.
Yeah.
Whether they get killed in the next one or not, who knows? In this one, Tommy lived along with Megan, and that's the last.
And I think Tommy is one of the very few characters in slasher films to survive 3 different encounters with the killer. Another interesting thing about, I want to bring this up, Friday the 13th Part 6 was actually the first time that Kane Hodder portrayed Jason. That was his first time of playing Jason.
What's Part 5?
No, Part 6.
Either way, he's one of the, he's considered the most iconic,
Yeah, he's the most,
he
kept
rekept the
redoing it.
role so many times.
He kept playing Jason. He played Jason from 6 to Jason X. So he played it 5 times, which is... and he, you know, of all the Friday the 13th movies I've watched, he's actually the one I like to play Jason the best. He just has that great build to him and that menacing walk and everything like that. Now we kind of got over here, so we're going to go into Part 7 now.
Telekinetic.
7 and 8 were actually 2 of my favorite ones.
Telekinetic girl.
Yeah.
We're still breaking all sorts of boundaries here.
No doubt.
Because it went from a killer to a zombie. Now we got a girl with psychic powers.
Yeah.
Okay, she kills her father accidentally in the beginning and gets brought back here to try and help fix the problem.
Well, I think
But the doctor was never intent on that. He was intent on trying to drive her insane so he could continue to study her.
Yeah. That was actually why she was brought back to Crystal Lake, was under the guise of helping her cope with her father's death. But you're right, the psychiatrist actually drug her there to keep driving her completely bonkers.
I will say, 1 to 3, all pretty standard forms of death.
Yeah.
I mean, slashing the throat, which, by the way, is that's one of the worst ones for me. I can handle having someone stabbed in the eye, shot in the eye. You get to 4, you start getting creative.
Yeah.
7 definitely had some more creative ones, especially when he chases the psychiatrist down with a weed eater with a saw blade on it. And then the end of that one, she's once again using her psychic powers. Jason comes back because she somehow psychically links to him, breaks the chain, and resurrects him.
Yeah.
At the end of the movie, she does the same thing with her dad's body that was never recovered from Crystal Lake.
And I think
he comes up and drags him down back with the chain.
I honestly think she was trying. You know, she actually brought Jason back. I think at the beginning of the movie, she's actually trying to bring her father back.
She's trying to connect to her father.
Yeah, and she ends up bringing Psycho Hockey Mask Killer Guy back, and they have to deal with that. But you know, and I think that was one of the few instances when it wasn't electricity that brought him back to life.
Yeah.
Because if you think about Part 2, or you know, you go from 2 to 3, he didn't actually die. He was still deformed and whatnot, but he didn't die, and you go same thing from 3 to 4.
From 3 to 4,
he never actually died.
Well, from 3 to 4, I mean, that's probably why we didn't hear anything about Chris.
Yeah.
Because it's right there, it's happening right as it's going. Despite the films being just a year apart and everything, it's still continuing the same story. He gets to the morgue and comes back.
Yeah.
4 is where he dies. Tommy kills him.
Yeah. And you take Part 5 out of the equation and go right into Part 6. It's when they start using. It's when they use electricity to bring it back. Now Part 7, she brings it back using psychic powers, and then we get into.
But she did electrocute him.
She did electrocute. We get into Part 8.
My favorite death is in Part 8.
Yeah. And it's like some sort of like an underwater wire or something like that.
Yeah, he's underwater at what was the old dock.
Yeah.
That Lisa's dad had drug him up under. Well, a boat sitting above's anchor got caught on the wire, busted open, and then it brought her back to life. Of course, who's on the boat? And a couple having sex. One guy gets his guts rammed in with a spear gun. The other girl, and then the girl gets just stabbed straight with the spear.
Don't have sex by the lake, people. Come on now, get it together.
And then you've got the music girl later in there. She literally got axed.
Yeah.
With her own axe.
What? The only time I'm thinking, I'm watching that movie, the only time I'm thinking, why did he have a perfectly good guitar? This was a kick-ass looking guitar. He's gonna, he just messed it up. Like, thanks, dude.
But part 3 and part 8 both had a black guy that lived almost 2 minutes in the movie.
Yeah.
Of course, you didn't. In part 3, you didn't see the guy until he came out and tried to help Jenny.
Yeah.
And then Jason just hacks him up.
And instantly you're talking about, I think, what you called your favorite death.
Jerome.
Yeah.
I mean, he's sitting there on top of the building, just boxing, and it just boom, boom, and he finally says, "All right, get your best shot, you mother."
And Jason just knocks his head clean off.
And it lands in a trash can, and the leg goes.
Yep.
That was a one take too.
Now,
that was the funny thing. That was a one take, and they was like, done.
Now, the thing that kind of confused me about Jason Takes Manhattan was how they dispatched Jason in this.
The toxic
waste. What about toxic waste transforms him back into the little deformed kid? What was that all about?
I'm thinking more that, quote, that the waste actually was just washing off all the crap that was on him. And that he was just a little boy the entire time. Because you remember when the stuff's coming in there, you hear little boys' voices, "Don't let me drown, Mommy."
Yeah.
Which, of course...
That was creepy in and of itself.
In the first movie, that was creepy, where his mother's in there, "Carry Mommy. Don't let her get away. She can't hide, Mommy." It's like, Jesus!
and that's actually incidentally, where they actually came up with the iconic Jason noise was they took an echo effect of the woman saying "Killer Mommy," and they took "Kill" and "Mommy," and they ran into an echo effect. That's how they came up with the iconic noise.
At the beginning of 7 or 8, when you're watching the whole Paramount thing and everything, it's actually going instead of.
So we covered part 8. The ending. Overall, the movie was good. The ending I found to be a little. I don't know, what's the word I'm looking for here? A little
lackluster.
I was gonna say it had a little bit too of a metaphorical ending to it, and with the whole,
And then, and of course, the entire time, I didn't like the dude anyway, which you find out that her uncle was just the biggest douchebag of all.
Oh yeah.
He pushed her in the freaking lake.
He deserved to die.
He deserved it.
He really deserved to die.
The teacher did not deserve to die.
No, the teacher didn't deserve to die, but yeah, her uncle deserved to get killed. That was a justified death. Good, bravo, Jason.
The prom queen definitely deserved to die.
The prom queen, yeah, she was a bitch. So now we get into New Line's first Jason movie, because Paramount sold the rights to the Friday the 13th franchise to New Line. And this was New Line's first Friday the 13th movie, Jason Goes to Hell. The storyline to this one was...
I don't care how many times I've watched it. I can't keep it in my head.
Well, okay,
I mean, in the past, just 2 weeks alone, I've watched it 4 times, and I cannot keep the story in my head.
Well, it opens up with some, like, special agent going to Crystal Lake, luring Jason out. They blow Jason's body up, and, they're doing some kind of odd...
Which, of course, makes no sense from the ending of 8.
Yeah, no kidding, right? Because that's another thing, is they don't explain how Jason came back.
No,
there's always an explanation of how he comes back.
Up
but except in this one.
Up to part 8.
Yeah. And then they're like doing the autopsy, and Jason's spirit like possesses the Emmy, and Jason, and the Emmy like chews his heart. Like, I didn't like this one. I really didn't like what New Line did to Jason Voorhees, because I really didn't like 9 or 10.
Well, I think what they're trying to do is they're trying to capitalize on Freddy.
Yeah.
Because
New Line owned the Elm Street
this
franchise.
one, it just seems like it was more of a hash tape on an already done Freddy movie.
Yeah.
I mean,
Freddy's Dead, the Final Nightmare.
Yeah, Freddy's Dead. Now,
of course, the reasoning behind them acquiring the New Line acquiring the rights was so eventually they could do that Freddy versus Jason movie that got done, which they foreshadowed at the end of Jason Goes to Hell.
Which in my opinion, I think should have been done then and then Jason X, because the timeline doesn't make any sense.
No.
Now. Because at the end, the special ending of Jason Goes to Hell, Freddy reaches up out of the ground and grabs his claw.
Grabs his mask, yeah. Jason X. This movie looks like this.
Turd number one in the punch bowl.
This movie looks like it should have been aired on Sci-Fi because the effects in this one were so bad.
It starts off, they've got Jason cuffed, which we all know that no one's going to be able to transport Jason like that. He would find a way to kill everyone. They're sitting there dragging him around and everything. And then the doctor, as they're putting him into his icebox, is sitting there just staring in at him and everything. And they didn't take his machete.
Yeah.
He stabs her. Okay.
Through what I am assuming to be a big ass hunk of steel.
About a 3-inch steel door. He is.
Yeah.
Now, tell me why. It's 100 years later, and she's still stuck to that dadgum. I mean, other people were in the facility. Why didn't they take her? Now the facility.
I think Jason went through and killed everyone in the facility.
But at the same time, this facility went into lockdown because something was happening outside.
But did you notice from where she sat down or whatever, at the time the place started freezing over, to when that crew found her, did you know she was in two completely different areas?
Yeah.
I don't think you're going to be rolling around in cryo sleep.
No.
Everything about Jason X is bad. It's just...
Of course, there's still some funny deaths in it.
Oh yeah, the whole frozen
the lady getting her liquid nitrogen, lady getting her face smashed.
Yeah.
Being sucked, the girl being sucked out the hole.
This sucks. Yeah.
Literally. What was with the nipple clamp?
I don't know.
That was disturbing.
Yeah, you have to for.
And then there's the digital Crystal Lake. He's done with the campers. That was fast.
Do you want to smoke some pot? Maybe we can have premarital sex. We love premarital sex.
And of course there's two black guys there.
And okay, in this one's defense, at least the other black guy was the hero.
Yeah, he puts on a rocket suit and jettisons himself and Jason into Earth 2's atmosphere.
And burning them both up.
But the ending of that, you see people at, I guess what's supposed to be a recreation of Crystal Lake.
Yeah.
Oh look, a shooting star. Make a wish. And then hockey mask.
Yeah. You know it's coming back. And so we'll go in to New Line's third Jason movie, and this actually is Freddy versus Jason. I like this one. This was New Line actually did this one right. In my opinion, they did this one right. This did not have Kane Hodder as Jason, though. It had a guy named Ken Zerzinger.
Still very good performance.
Still very good performance, yeah.
Funny part in it. What are you, stupid? He's got a machete. He's got a fucking machete. You've got these little knife things. Quing!
Done.
Freddy won that.
Yeah. If anyone saw the Elm Street franchise view with my niece, I think she disagreed and said Jason won.
Yeah.
Jason did not win that.
Okay, I mean, here's how. Okay, he's going back into Crystal Lake. He's got Freddy's head. Freddy winks at the damn camera, which is actually something from part jumping all the way back to like part 5. I done lost my track here. It's one of the ones with Tommy. It's the second one with Tommy.
Part 5.
Part 5.
The one with the halfway house.
In it, he's looking at the end of his bed before he gets up, and there's goes to Jason Voorhees. He winks at it, and then it vanishes. Okay, me talking about the fact that Freddy winks at the camera and everything reminded me of that, but Freddy won that, and he just pretty much gave the afterlife version of a bitch slap to Jason.
Yeah, and the other reason I think that Freddy won that fight is I still argue the fact that Monica Keena's character is the one that beheaded Freddy.
It was a fight between Freddy and Jason. Someone else got
involved,
and then Jason just takes his machete and head and walks off.
Yeah.
Freddy did win. Freddy won that.
Freddy won that fight.
By default.
Okay. Okay. You know what? We're gonna open this debate up to you guys. Comment below who you think won the fight. And
for the sink ship now.
Yeah, the remake, the 2009 remake.
The only thing that even halfway saved that was the gratuitous boob shot.
Yeah.
Jared Padalecki. Though he wasn't even at that point. I don't think Supernatural really taken off that well. So I mean, he wasn't that well known. So I mean, even he couldn't. Saying he couldn't save it really doesn't say much.
I had watched the remake before I started watching Supernatural, and I watched Supernatural, and I was wondering what else I had seen Jared Padalecki in, because I knew Jared Padalecki was in the remake of House of Wax, which, by the way, if you haven't seen that movie, don't bother.
Yeah.
The only real decent thing about that is you get to see Paris Hilton get killed. It's the only good thing about that movie, but we're veering off course. I was going back to, I was looking at his filmography, and I'm like, Friday the 13th. Okay. And sure enough, I go back and I watch, yeah, he's in it. I'm like, didn't remember that, because that movie sucked ass.
Well, Kevin Bacon played Jack in the first one.
Yeah. Well, I mean, which kind of goes back to the thing I was saying about Corey Feldman, is you don't really remember that, because in these sort of B-slasher horror movie kind of thing, even if there is a star that has a good career later on down the road, you don't really remember that they're in those movies. A lot of people don't remember Kevin Bacon in the first one.
And with the remake and everything, the first one, the killer was his mother. Jason was dead. In this one, he has a mommy complex. Mommy is dead.
Yeah.
And he's just some maniac. He's just some loony going around killing people because he has a mommy complex.
Yeah. And that makes you wonder what kind of relationship they had.
But I mean, the death, like I already said, the deaths throughout each of them got more and more creative as they went. I mean, the first one's your generic slashers and everything. I felt kind of bad for Annie from the first one. She never even made it to the camp. And then she gets her throat slit in the middle of the woods, and I'm like, nah, the cook never made it. And she was the most innocent of the whole bunch, and yet she's the first one dead.
Which violates that stereotype.
Mm-hmm.
The virginal one got killed.
Yeah, because usually the virginal one is, as it shows in the later ones, the virginal one or the more innocent one typically stays alive. And this one, well, one did, Alice.
Yeah.
That's who I was thinking, Alice. She did live, but Annie was killed right off the bat. I think how she did herself in when she said, "I'm not afraid of ghosts." That's probably where, and she wouldn't listen to the old dude.
Yeah.
That's probably where she did herself in.
Okay. Now, going back over the entire franchise, including the remake, you said that your favorite death is from Part 8 where old boy gets his head knocked off.
Yeah.
I don't agree with that. My favorite death was actually from Part 5. The one where Jason turned out not to be the killer. It's where the dude basically groated the guy's face. If you don't know what I'm talking about, he put like this leather strap across his face, pinned it back to a tree, and took like a stick and just twisted the strap across, like tearing into his face. I thought that was pretty cool.
And then and that also goes to Ted. I mean, no, we understand that was not Jason, but I mean, you look back at other deaths Jason's done, you realize exactly how strong this dude
Yeah,
is.
you really
I
did.
mean, in part 2, he crushed a guy's head. No, part 3, he crushed a guy's head. Part 2, I don't think he did any head crushing.
I don't think so.
In part 6, he flings one guy into a tree with a stick, and it flies right in his face. But he ripped the dude's arm off in the process.
And you watch Freddy vs. Jason, the little nerdy guy, he swings at him and he flings him across the cabin. He gets impaled on this spike that's sticking out of the wall. So yeah, you definitely see with him and with Michael Myers that both of them have they're pretty strong. And the difference between those two and Freddy is actually more psychological in the way he dispatches his victims. Okay.
I mean, Jason threw somebody out a window.
Yeah.
And then in part 7 or part 6, he snaps the cop in half. Because he's sitting there trying to choke him and telling you stay away from him, and he just reaches up.
Okay, so including the remake, I'm not going to ask you to list, your favorite all the way through, but including the remake, what is your favorite? What is your least favorite?
I have to go with probably 2 as actually my least favorite, not the remake. The remake actually ranks a little bit higher.
Not by much, I'm thinking?
No, it's actually my second least favorite.
What about your favorite?
Freddy vs. Jason. I know it comes out of. I know it came out of the sequence and everything, but I mean it's my favorite. I mean I watched all these when I was younger. Freddy vs. Jason got me back into it. I mean, and I've spent the last month rewatching all of them multiple times.
As off the wall as it was, I think my favorite was probably part 7.
Part 7.
My least favorite has to go to the remake. I'm just not a big fan of remakes. I'm really not. There's only been one instance I can think where the remake held up to the original, and that was the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. And heaven help me, I don't like Michael Bay. But he did a good job with Texas Chainsaw Massacre. And the prequel Texas Chainsaw Massacre at the beginning. Eventually I'll do a franchise review of those as well. But that's going to be it on this episode of Franchise Film Review Fridays. If you like this video, like, share, and comment. Make sure you go over to his page. What's it called?
It's Mr. Creeperly, my YouTube channel. I'll be posting a lot of stuff dealing with video games. And on that, there's a Friday the 13th video game coming out. I will be doing a review of this. We'll be playing it. I don't care what YouTube says anymore. I mean, they've got these new stupid rules. Okay, well, fine. I'm still going to play the game. In this game, you can play as one of, I think it's 11 playable characters. One of them being Jason. You either hide or you do the killing.
If you haven't seen anything about this game, I will post a link to it in the description down below. Like I said, once again, make sure you like, share, and subscribe to both our channels, and I'll see you next time.